Welcome to the Norris Group Real Estate Podcast, a show committed to bringing you insights from thought leaders shaping the real estate industry. In each episode, we'll dive into conversations with industry experts and local insiders, all aimed at helping you thrive in an ever-changing real estate market, continuing the legacy that Bruce Norris created, sharing valuable knowledge, and empowering you on your real estate journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a newcomer, this is your go-to source for insider tips, market trends, and success strategies. Here's your host, Craig Evans.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Norris Group Real Estate Podcast. Our special guest this week is Andy Teasley. Andy Teasley is a self-described entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. He has built and run many small to medium-sized businesses in the last 40 years. Along the way, he has always had an interest in real estate investing as the best way to build long-lasting wealth. Raised by a teacher and a CPA, he has always felt the need to pay forward the learning that he received in his life. Being a seminar junkie, he has had lots of training instructors. He took his first Guru Real Estate Seminar in 1980 with Lonnie Young Gray and uses his experience at these seminars to hone his teaching skills and to try to divert new investors into local REIA instead of the high-priced guru system. He has invested in many areas of real estate as the cycles have changed. And at the peak of the past buying frenzy, he had an interest in over 50 doors as a buy and hold investor. He publishes a free once-a-week newsletter called The Weekly What If, which contains calculated practice problems and upcoming vetted education. He has flipped dozens of mobile homes to create discounted notes and is currently focused on his single-space mobile home parks. He occasionally offers classes on operating the HP10 BBI financial calculator and on flipping mobile homes. He lives near Palm Springs and is a California native. Let's welcome Andy Teasley to our show. All right, welcome everyone to the Norris Group Real Estate Podcast. We have a special guest today. We have Andy Teasley. Now, I've known Andy as a lot of different things in the real estate world. So I can't wait to dig in to see what he's doing, what he's up to now, and whose classes he's attending, and what classes he's running, and what groups he's part of. So let's get into it. Andy, thank you so much, first of all, for jumping on with us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, happy to do it. I love the opportunity to spread the word and preach to you youngsters.
Youngsters, I'm 50.
You're a youngster.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll take it. So Andy, well, there's a lot of questions I have, but the first one I want to ask is the Christmas guide still in your email. How did that come about?
Well, I never changed emails. I never changed phone numbers. And actually the phone number that I used that's there on my name comes up. It was originally for my carnival company back in the day. So I just stick with things. I hate with people that change phone numbers. You lose them. You lose friends that way. So I used to own a company that manufactured and rented holiday decorations. You know the things you see on street light poles, like stockings and candy canes at Christmas time?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Riverside's got them all over the place. One of my ex-competitors does. I think he's got about 500 units hanging down there. Anyway, I manufactured those and we rented them, and we used to hang 5,000 every year in 4 states. It was 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, October, November, and January. So that's why I'm Andy the Christmas guy. I suck at Santa. My wife, when we were first married, had a very nice, professionally tailored Santa suit made for me. And I did 2 or 3 Santa gigs and hated every bit of it. I didn't know what to say to those brats. And that was the end of it. So I don't do Santa.
All right. So where are you originally from?
I'm 6th generation Inland Empire. My mom's ancestors were part of the Mormon Army.
Well, back when it was actually the Inland Empire, not, what everybody calls now, but wow, the old 909, huh?
Oh yeah. The old 714. Come on.
Oh, that deep. So growing up, like, what is a kid growing up in the not what the Inland Empire looks like now, but what did you think you were gonna do growing up?
Oh, I was always an entrepreneur. I had little stores in the garage. I sold stuff to the neighbor kids. We lived in a little, see, things have changed so much. We lived in a 16-unit subdivision in the middle of orange groves on all four sides. And the first thing the first chink in that was they built University Heights Middle School on the other side of Iowa. And they took down an orange grove to put that in. But back when I was a kid, you left in the morning, you ate lunch at somebody's house. Your parents weren't worried because there was nowhere, 16 houses in orange groves to go play in. And that was it. And I think I rode the bus to school, kindergarten and first grade. And after that, I walked, which meant going from, I presume you know where University Heights Middle School is.
Yeah.
Well, we walked through the groves, across the canal, down through the wash behind Alpha Beta, over the railroad tracks, and in the back gate at Highland Elementary School, back and forth every day for class. I mean, nowadays, if you sent your kid to walk that path, they would arrest you for child endangerment, you know? But
Yeah.
we put pennies on the railroad tracks. We did all that stuff as kids. And it was a great life. And you'd left in the morning, and if it got dark before we had street lights, you were in trouble. Or they just they'd walk out the front door and bellow your name, and you better find your way home quick. Then we got street lights when I was about, I don't know, 4 or 5, and then you had to get in before the street lights went on.
Yeah.
So Riverside was a really small town back then.
Well, even Aaron growing up, he would tell stories of him and his brother like going in the manholes and like just going all over Riverside in the sewers. Like those were his adventures.
There were some fun times in the catacombs under the Mission Inn back before Dwayne fixed it up.
Yeah, well, they stopped doing those tours. Hopefully they'll bring those back.
It was fun when it wasn't a tour guide.
I worked for Gless Ranch for a little bit, so I spent some times in those orange groves and out in Coachella too. It's so peaceful to be around just the oranges, and you get all the snacks you can eat, just peeling oranges. There you go. Who had the biggest impact on you growing up? Was it mom, dad, brother, sister?
Boy, good question. Dad was a repressed entrepreneur. When he met my mom when he was in the Air Force in his last year, because he got transferred to March, he had already purchased a couple of acres in Portersville up in Northern California, because he was going to build a miniature golf course. He always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Unfortunately, my mom was a very powerful woman. And those of you that know her from her business as one of the best CPAs in Riverside know she was a formidable person. And she declared that, no, they were going to go get a college education on the GI Bill. So they got married, went up to Humboldt State.
Okay.
Got a degree in education, and she got a degree in accounting. And he went to work teaching elementary school and worked doing that until he was 62. Hated the last 10 years of it. So he really inspired me with his entrepreneurial bent, and he set me up with a gentleman named Bob Clark for a job when I was 14. And all of our Riverside people in the room, the ones that are, generation boomers like me, we all knew Bob Clark. A lot of kids worked for him. Shamel Park, Hunt, and the one out on Jackson. Anyway, running the snack bars at swimming pools, running the snack bars at Ramona Stadium and at RCC for the high school games. That was a great job when you were a kid.
What was your first career job?
Career job. I got out of Cal Poly. They claim I'm a civil engineer. I made the mistake of buying the Pail of Chicken on University right after I got out. And my partner and I ran that for 2 years, lost $70,000. And I call that my MBA because it cost about the same as going to USC for an MBA. And
yeah,
I think I got just as good education in how business works. Then we morphed into, we built a carnival, traveling show, 12 rides, 40 weeks a year, all in Southern California, a few sojourns out of state, but mostly just Southern Cal. That was good business. Then I got married, and then my wife said, if you want to have kids, you're getting out of that crazy business.
Can't be a carny no more.
No. So sold that and built the holiday decorating company.
Okay.
So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I get bored easily.
All right. Well, let's talk about the real estate investment world. So how did you get into real estate, and what were you doing? What was the early strategies for Andy?
So I know you've never heard this story before, but I was up late at night watching infomercials on television, and I got sucked into the I Own Young Gray Guru seminar. $3,000 for a weekend education that was probably worth about $250 back then, but it was a great basic education in real estate. And I'm amazed that these youngsters nowadays, they have so much available at their fingertips. They just don't understand what we used to go through back then. I mean, I remember one of the strategies I came away from that class was we would go dumpster dive behind real estate offices trying to find MLS books. Because one of the strategies was to get an old MLS book and call all the listings in the old MLS book, because it was still available. It was probably an opportunity.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. It, like I said, good basic education class. And I've always just sort of dinked around with real estate ever since. I've owned a lot of rentals. I peaked at 51 doors, dropped down to a dozen. Now I'm back up to 32, which is more than I should have. And when I hit 22, I said I wasn't going to buy another one, but they just keep falling in my lap, and I can't stop helping people solve problems. So
that's what real estate investors are, really, truly. I was talking to the guys last week. Rich was on with Christina Suter and Mitch from up north, and I said we're in the starting over business for people. That's what we offer, because we never know when the money that we buy their home, what start that's going to offer that family or that person. So it's really fulfilling, especially if you're truly in it to help people. Like a lot of the great entrepreneurs and real estate investors that we have. One of the things that, I ask everybody is, what did you do during the crash? So can you tell us what you were doing prior to the crash, and then what you did afterwards?
Okay. So 2005, I was looking at these McMansions with 5-foot offsets on either side of the house, so you could reach over and borrow sugar from your neighbors.
High five your neighbor.
in Winchester. Now, where is the nearest decent employment to Winchester, California? It's like at least 60, 90 minutes away. Where are you going to go? Downtown San Diego to work when you live? And they were getting $500,000 for these houses. There's no excuse for that. And I said, at some point, the little kid that's pumping the bicycle pump is going to get tired and stop, and this is going to crash. So in 2005, I looked at my inventory and I sold every house that I didn't want to keep through the crash that I knew was imminent. So when the crash finally got around to happening in 2007.
So what was, Andy, I didn't mean to interrupt, but what was telling you that? Like what was it data? Was it just feeling, or just your experience? What was it?
Just gut. I looked at what was happening and said, this does not make sense. I was on my 5th barber because they kept stopping barbering and going to go be a house flipper. You know what a liar loan was? I mean, when I got my last bank loan on my personal residence, I'm sitting there going through the small phone books of paperwork you sign when you're doing your mortgage in escrow, and I hit the income statement. I looked up at the guy, the mortgage broker, and I said, damn, I had a better year than I thought last year. And he slammed the book on my hand. And I looked at him and he says, can you afford this payment? Well, I said, well, hell yes, it's $700 a month less than I'm paying now. He says, shut up, sign where it says sign, initial where it says initial. And I said, yes, sir. It was a liar loan. And that's what was happening. All that just made my gut go, this is going to crash. So I bailed. And I bailed too soon. I grimace every time I listen to Tony talk about how Bruce convinced him to wait for another couple of years, and he made several $1 million extra because he listened to Bruce. I didn't know about Bruce back then.
So what'd you do after? Once the crash came and now the opportunities are starting to be abundant, what did you do?
Well, so when I sold, I started doing land. So I would find people that weren't paying the taxes on their land. I would make a written offer. I'd send out a cover letter and a quick claim deed and a return envelope, basically telling people, having unpaid taxes might negatively affect your FICO score. It appears you don't want this piece of property in Riverside County. If you sign the enclosed quick claim deed with the notary and mail it back to me, when I record the deed, I'll pay you $500 or $1,000 or something. So, and that worked great. And then I'd sell it and carry paper. So that's when I became a paper guy. And in 2008, I learned that it's really easy to walk away from that piece of land you bought because you're going to build a cabin someday, or it's in the path of progress. So I got back 300 acres of Riverside County back then.
Wow.
2009 and 10, I bought 51 doors because houses were free. You could open the MLS. My search parameters were single families under 40,000 and investment under 125. And there were about 60 of each of those any day of the week in the desert MLS. I bought 51 doors. I was very pleased with myself and happy. Then I learned about partners because I had partners in those deals that didn't have the same goals I had. They didn't have the same stick-to-itiveness, and they wanted quick cash. And I've always been a long-term investor, not a quick cash investor. So we divorced, split up some things, parted down, we divided it into two piles, and the one that did the dividing, and the other one got to decide what they wanted. So we were left as friends, but we won't do business together again. And I've been just chugging along. And it's funny, I used to think I was really a genius having bailed on those houses in 2005. And a good friend of mine about 2012 says, Andy, you keep crowing about how you did good selling those houses. He said, out of the 51 doors that you bought in 9 and 10, how many of those would you be unable to have acquired if you hadn't sold those houses in 2005? And I said, well, I could have bought all of them if we'd not sold those houses. And he said, how much more would you be worth today if you just kept those houses and drug them through the dip? And I said, gee, about $2 million, I think. And he said, yeah. So I've rethought. I don't think I was quite as smart as I should have been. I should have just stuck through them. They were good rental houses. I never should have sold them.
Well, that's what you hear from a lot of investors, right? I should have bought more. I should have kept more. I should, it's one of the things that we talked about last week was one of the biggest thing of the most successful investors is that they don't give up. They don't leave the game. They stay in it. They find a way, right?
Yeah.
So when did you start investing in the manufactured space?
So 2013, 14, things dried up. I couldn't open the MLS and pick from 60 houses anymore.
You stopped dumpster diving?
Oh, that's long ago. That's 40 years ago. You don't have to dumpster dive. It's all on your freaking computer now.
On your phone now.
So I was whining at the local REIA, and somebody said, well, you got to go call Tim King. He's doing Lonnie deals in Orange County. And I said, what's a Lonnie deal? So I called Tim. He's a buddy. I've known him many years. And I said, Tim, what's a Lonnie deal? They tell me you're doing Lonnie deals in Orange County. He says, you got to go buy this book and read it. So I got Deals on Wheels from Lonnie Scruggs. And when I read it, I looked at the business system and said, gee, that's the land flipping business I was doing back before the crash. The only difference is I believe that when the next dip happens, people will fight to keep their mobile homes where they didn't fight to keep their land. It's a lot easier to put back land and say, okay, you can have it. than it is to put back the house you're living in. Usually it pisses the wife off when you give her house away.
Yeah, that might be a problem.
So I switched and I started flipping mobiles, and it's just a great way to generate paper. I've made a lot of good income flipping paper, and it's been wonderful to me since then.
So, even you call them wobbly boxes. Like, why do you think that space gets such a bad rap?
We like that it gets a bad rap. People that need a place to live don't give it a bad rap. The other investors give it a bad rap, and we just smile and tell them, you're right. They're junk. You don't want to buy them.
Move along.
Go flip $1 million house and make a $50,000 profit and tell me how good that is. So I don't know. I mean, they're not your grandmother's mobile home. They're well built nowadays. And when my crew goes in and goes through a mobile home, we make it pretty darn nice.
Well, walk us through that process. Like, how does one go from land, space, whatever it is, all the way to creating the note? Walk us through that.
Okay, so we start by acquiring some project. We're solving someone's problem. They inherit mom's house, and they've got space rent, and they're in Michigan, and we're in California because mom moved out here because it's warm, or they got transferred back there on a job. They've got space rent. They have no way to deal with that thing. So we are able to buy that house at a severe discount for cash, turn around and polish it up. And then the system Lonnie taught us is to sell it on paper for at least twice what you have invested in. So a typical transaction for me would be to buy a mobile for $3,000, be all in with the repairs and space rent and ready to sell with $10,000 invested. And then I would sell that for $3,000 down in a $22,000 note. Assuming that I have $500 in closing costs, that means I'm left with $7,500 invested in that $22,000 note. And if you know how to use your financial calculator and you plug all that stuff into your financial calculator, you will find out I'm making a 53% cash on cash return on my $7,500 investment.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking with the barrier to entry being so high in California, this is a great way for somebody who maybe doesn't have as much money to get in the game.
The 90-minute class I generally teach for REIAs is deals you can do in your own backyard for very little cash, even in Southern California.
Yeah, and the other part of that is mistakes don't hurt as much, right?
No, that's right. Jimmy always taught us to learn on the little deals. My one annoyance is I have not gotten, I'm toting the note on about 100 mobile homes, and I haven't gotten one back since the COVID thing. Prior to 2020, I was getting back one every other month, and getting one back is just a bonus opportunity to make more money the second time you sell. But there's such a shortage of housing in this state right now, and this is good, affordable housing. And once they're in, they will not walk away from it like they used to.
Well, is this a starter strategy, or is this something that's sustainable for people? Like, do you see your students who take your class, they do it, have success, and go, well, I'm gonna go start flipping big homes, or is this something that they could do forever?
Well, my little phenom, Rodolfo, who you ought to get in here and interview if you haven't already, at 19 years old, he took my class. He went out on Tuesday after spending a weekend getting his brain beat up by me, bought his first mobile home for $10,000, drug his family down and cleaned it the next weekend. The week after that, he sold it for $5,000 down in a $55,000 note. And a service I offer to my students is I will lend them half of the balance of a note that they've created for the first half of the payments. So he brought me that $55,000 note. I lent him $27,500 for the first 7.5 years of payments on that note. So in less than 60 days, he turned $10,000 into $32,500. In the year he turned 20, he flipped 12 mobile homes and made over $1 million in paper.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure nobody thinks like I'm gonna make $1 million a year flipping, manufactured mobile
Wobbly
homes.
boxes.
Yeah, wobbly boxes. Yeah. Wow. Is that? Go ahead.
and he's got a good machine. They do really nice work, and he's flipping a couple a month right now. Unfortunately, he has decided he's buying a bunch of houses in Ohio. He's gotten hooked up with a hard money lender it's a hard money lender who's giving people a shot who are not skilled and experienced yet. So they're financing everything for him on hard money paper, and he's getting houses for like $20,000-$30,000 that are almost to the finish line, but the unskilled flipper that did the deal has not quite drug it over the line. And he's dragging it over the line and putting tenants in them, and he's building a cash flow wealth there. So I'm hoping he won't learn a lesson.
Well, that's the thing. Like you win or you learn, right?
Yeah.
Is that the only thing you're doing right now? What other strategies are you using right now?
Well, I've got 32 rentals. So, I mean, the tenants pay the bills. Mostly at this point in my life, I'm working on growing my retirement account, my great nephew's education savings accounts. Basically, all my family brings me their IRA money to invest, and I do what I can to make it work hard.
Yeah.
Last year, we averaged 45% cash on cash across 7 accounts.
That's kind of nice. Hey, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Norris Group Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to join us next week for part 2 with Andy Teasley.
For more information on hard money loans, trust deed investing, and upcoming events with the Norris Group, check out thenorrisgroup.com. For more information on passive investing through the DBL Capital Real Estate Investment Fund, please visit dblcapital.com.
The Norris Group originates and services loans in California and Florida under the California DRE license 01219911, Florida Mortgage Lender license 1577, and NMLS license 1623669. For more information on hard money lending, go to thenorrisgroup.com and click the hard money tab.